Welcome to Books Recapped. Joanne Kathleen Rowling. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Second part. Chapter 10 to 17. For the first part, check out our previous Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone video. The link is in the description. The following morning, Harry and Ron were discussing the possibility of the three-headed dog guarding something when the mail arrived. Harry received a first-class broomstick, along with a note from Professor McGonagall summoning him to Quidditch practice. Malfoy told Harry that first-year students were not allowed broomsticks, but when he tried to report Harry to Professor Flitwick, Flitwick simply expressed admiration for Harry's talent. Harry later met with Oliver Wood to learn the basics of Quidditch. On Halloween, Flitwick began teaching his students how to make objects fly. Only Hermione was successful, which caused Ron to make a rude comment about her superior attitude. Harry saw Hermione run off in tears. When he and Ron arrived at the Halloween feast, they heard Professor Quirrell, the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, give a terrifying announcement about a 12-foot troll in the castle. As the prefects led the students back to their dorms, Harry realized that Hermione didn't know about the troll. They set off to warn her and stumbled upon the troll. Unknowingly, they locked it in the girls' bathroom, only to realize that Hermione was trapped in there with it. Using teamwork and magic, the three of them managed to defeat the troll. Professor McGonagall found them and began scolding the boys. Hermione intervened, saying that she had gone to face the troll herself and that Harry and Ron had been trying to save her. With this, Hermione became their friend. The Quidditch season began, and Harry was about to play in his first match against Slytherin. To prepare, he borrowed a book called Quidditch Through the Ages from Hermione. Professor Snape discovered Ron, Harry, and Hermione with the book one evening and confiscated it from Harry on the flimsy excuse that library books were not allowed to be taken outside. Harry's suspicions of Snape continued to grow. He noticed that Snape was limping. When he went to retrieve the book from Snape, overheard him talking to August Filch about the three-headed dog. The next morning, the Quidditch match began. Harry played the position of seeker, which meant he had to catch a small object called the golden snitch. He spotted it and was flying towards it when the Slytherin seeker pushed him out of the way and was penalized. Later in the game, Harry's broom started moving uncontrollably. Hagrid commented that only dark magic could make a broomstick so difficult to control. Hermione noticed that Snape was staring at Harry and muttering to himself. As the Weasley ones tried to rescue Harry, Hermione rushed over to Snape, sneaked behind him, and set his robe on fire. Suddenly, the spell on Harry's broom was broken and he was back in control. He started speeding towards the ground and caught the snitch when he landed. Hagrid took Harry back to his hut with Hermione and Ron, who told Harry that Snape had been putting a curse on his broomstick. Hagrid didn't believe this charge, asking why Snape would try to kill Harry. Harry told Hagrid about Snape being injured by the dog in the third-floor corridor. Hagrid inadvertently revealed that the three-headed dog, Fluffy, was his and that what the dog was guarding was a secret known only to Albus Dumbledore and a man named Nicolas Flamel. It was Christmas time, and Harry was feeling excited to spend the holidays at Hogwarts away from the Dursleys. But Malfoy was teasing him about not having parents to go home to. Harry was just happy to be spending Christmas with Ron, who was also staying at the school. The day before vacation, Hermione pulled Harry and Ron away from their conversation with Hagrid to look for more information about Nicolas Flamel in the library. But Harry was caught sneaking around in the restricted books section and was kicked out. On Christmas morning, Harry and Ron woke up to find presents waiting for them. Harry's were fewer, but he was still happy to receive candy and a knitted sweater from Ron's mother. He also received an invisibility cloak, with a note saying it had belonged to his father. That night, after Ron fell asleep, Harry put on the cloak and went to the restricted books section of the library. But when he opened one of the books, it started screaming and he quickly left. As he was trying to escape unnoticed, He passed Filch and ended up hiding in an old classroom with a strange inscription that included the word erised. Inside, he found an old mirror. When he looked in it, he saw his deceased mother and father standing behind him. They could only communicate by waving, and Harry lingered there for a while before returning to his room. The next night, Harry brought Ron with him to the mirror room. Ron didn't see Harry's parents in the mirror, but instead saw himself holding a Quidditch cup. Mrs. Norris, Filch's cat, spotted them, and they had to flee. Ron was too scared to go back the third night, so Harry returned alone and found Dumbledore there. Dumbledore explained that the mirror showed the deepest desire of the person looking into it. He advised Harry to stop visiting the Mirror of Erised, and Harry agreed. After the Christmas break, Harry, Ron, and Hermione resumed their search for Flamel. But Harry was also busy with Quidditch practice. One day, he found out that Snape would be the referee for the next game and wondered if Snape might try to harm him. As he was discussing this with his friends, Neville came by, his legs locked together by a spell cast by Malfoy. Harry encouraged Neville to stand up to Malfoy, and Neville gave him a famous wizard card before leaving. This reminded Harry that he had seen the name Nicolas Flamel on the back of a famous wizard card given to him by Ron on the train to Hogwarts. Hermione ran to get a book that told them that Flamel, once Dumbledore's partner, had created the only Sorcerer's Stone, which could turn metal into gold and produce an elixir of eternal life. They realized that the fierce dog on the third floor must be guarding Flamel's stone. As the big Quidditch match approached, Harry was getting more and more nervous, but he was reassured when he learned that Dumbledore would be at the game, since Snape wouldn't dare do anything wrong in front of him. In the game, Harry caught the golden snitch in the first 5 minutes, to the cheers of the crowd. Dumbledore congratulated him on his impressive feat. Later, Harry saw Snape heading into the forest and followed him, overhearing him speaking harshly to Professor Quirrell and mentioning the Sorcerer's Stone. As Easter approached, Hermione was getting worried about exams while Harry and Ron were just trying to keep up with all their homework. One day, they were studying in the library when Hagrid came upon them. They asked him a lot of questions about the Sorcerer's Stone. He invited them to come talk to him later, but said he couldn't promise to reveal anything. When they visited Hagrid's hut later, he told them that he didn't know what else was guarding the stone besides the three-headed dog, but he did say which teachers had cast spells to protect it. He also made it clear that he wouldn't give out any information on how to bypass the dog. Hagrid also showed them a dragon egg that he had won in a poker game the previous night. Dragons are illegal, but Hagrid was determined to raise one anyway. Later, Harry received a note saying that the dragon egg was hatching. Excitedly, he and his friends rushed over to Hagrid's to watch the dragon's birth. They realized that Hagrid would have to get rid of the dragon, which he named Norbert, before it grew too big. They decided to write to Charlie, Ron's older brother, who was studying dragons in Romania. Charlie agreed to help and arranged for them to meet some of his friends to take the dragon away. The plan was for the children to meet Charlie's friends at midnight one Saturday on the top of the castle's tallest tower. They brought the invisibility cloak and sneakily carried Norbert up to the tower. Charlie's friends came and took the dragon away. As they descended from the tower, they forgot to wear the invisibility cloak, and Filch caught them. Filch took Harry, Hermione, and Ron to Professor McGonagall's office to be punished for their involvement in the dragon incident. She accused them of making up the story to lure Malfoy out of bed and get him into trouble, and as punishment, she deducted 50 points from Gryffindor for each of the 3 students. Harry was devastated that his house would lose 150 points, and he quickly fell from his position as the Quidditch star. He considered quitting the team, but Wood convinced him that it wouldn't do any good. Harry resolved to stay out of any more suspicious activities, but a week later he overheard a conversation in which Quirrell seemed to give in to someone, presumably Snape, as if Snape was pressuring him to do something. Harry and his friends tried to come up with a plan, but they couldn't figure out what to do. Harry, Hermione, and Neville were told to report to Hagrid for their detention that night. When they arrived, they were surprised to find that the detention would be held in the Forbidden Forest. Malfoy, who also received detention, objected to being treated like a servant. Hagrid showed them some traces of unicorn blood on the ground and explained that they would be going into the forest to find out what had been harming the animals. They split into two groups, Harry and Hermione with Hagrid, Neville and Malfoy with Hagrid's dog, Fong. They went deep into the forest. Harry saw signs that the other group was in trouble, but when Hagrid found them, he discovered that Malfoy had just been playing tricks on Neville. Hagrid sent Harry off with Malfoy, taking Neville along with him. Harry and Malfoy came across a mysterious cloaked figure drinking the blood of a recently killed unicorn. Malfoy and Fong ran away, leaving Harry alone. A centaur named Firenze rescued Harry and carried him back to Hagrid. On the way back, Harry learned that the cloaked figure was Voldemort and that he was drinking unicorn blood to sustain himself until he could obtain the Sorcerer's Stone. The year-end exams went smoothly, though Harry was constantly afraid that Voldemort would burst through the door at any moment. While he was staying with Hagrid, Harry learned that Hagrid had revealed to Voldemort, while drunk and playing cards, that anyone could get past the three-headed dog, Fluffy, by playing music to him. Harry and his friends rushed to find Dumbledore to tell him this, but they ran into McGonagall, who told them that Dumbledore had been called to London by the Ministry of Magic. Harry convinced Hermione and Ron that they needed to grab the stone that night. As they were leaving, Neville tried to stop them, but Hermione immobilized him with a spell and they continued on their way. When they reached Fluffy, they saw a harp by his feet and realized that someone had already passed by him. Harry played a flute he had brought, putting Fluffy to sleep and allowing them to go through the trapdoor. They landed on some kind of plant with twisting tendrils that wrapped around Harry and Ron. Hermione got out immediately and used fire from her wand to fend off the plant. Next, they came across a large locked door in a room full of birds that were actually keys. Harry used his Quidditch skills to catch the right bird and unlock the door. They then had to play a violent game of chess, with each of them as a chess piece. Ron expertly led them through the game, but he had to allow himself to be captured and severely beaten by the opposing queen to win. Harry and Hermione then encountered a series of potions and a logic puzzle. Hermione figured out which potions to drink and then went back to help Ron. Harry alone went forward to find the stone. Harry found himself face to face with Professor Quirrell, who was desperately searching for the Philosopher's Stone. Harry lied, telling Quirrell that he saw himself winning the House Cup for Gryffindor in the Mirror of Erised, which was taken down to the basement. The stone was hidden in the mirror, but Lord Voldemort, who was using Quirrell's body as a host, knew that Harry was lying. Voldemort wanted to speak directly to Harry, so he ordered Quirrell to unwrap his turban. Harry was shocked to see Voldemort's face on the back of Quirrell's head. Voldemort tried to persuade Harry to give him the stone, which Harry had in his pocket. He told Harry to join him rather than resist and be killed like his parents. But Harry refused, and Voldemort ordered Quirrell to seize him. Quirrell tried to grab Harry, but every time he touched him, his hand blistered as if it had been burned. Harry grabbed Quirrell in return, causing him great pain. Meanwhile, the pain in Harry's scar was steadily increasing. As the struggle intensified, Harry felt himself losing grip on Quirrell and falling. When Harry regained consciousness, he saw Dumbledore standing over him. He told Dumbledore that Quirrell had the stone, but Dumbledore told him to relax. Harry realized he was in the hospital. He asked Dumbledore about the stone again, and Dumbledore told him that he had arrived just in time to save Harry from Quirrell. Dumbledore also spoke with Nicolas Flamel, and they decided to destroy the stone. Dumbledore revealed that Harry was protected from Quirrell by his mother's love, and that he had left the invisibility cloak for Harry. He also explained that Snape and Harry's father had a strained relationship, much like the one between Malfoy and Harry. Dumbledore added that Harry was the only one who wanted to find the stone for its own sake, rather than for what it could provide. After recovering in the hospital, Harry attended the end-of-year feast. The dining hall was decorated in Slytherin colors to celebrate their 7th consecutive win of the Championship Cup. Dumbledore stood up to speak and announced that more points needed to be awarded in light of recent events. He gave Ron and Hermione 50 points each and Harry 60 points for their efforts in finding the stone. This brought Gryffindor into a tie with Slytherin. Dumbledore then announced that Neville had been awarded 10 points for his bravery. This put Gryffindor in the lead, winning them the House Cup. When the school grades were released, Harry and Ron did well, and Hermione was at the top of the class. They all packed their bags and headed to the train station to go home for the summer. Harry, Hermione, and Ron said their goodbyes and Harry went home, eager to use a little magic on Dudley Dursley. This is the end of the book. Thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing to our channel. Pressing a like and commenting would help us greatly. You can also support us on Patreon, link in the description. See you soon on Books Recapped.